15 creepy Disney urban legends that will freak you out. If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video. 1. A real skull in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. This ride marked the very beginning of the entire genre theme park experience-based rides, and the level of Disney's hope to provide a realistic experience verged into downright creepy territory. The entire project of building this ride cost $15 million between wardrobe, animatronics, etc., which was an astronomical amount of cash at the time. The ride was built in 1967 and was the very last ride that was supervised by Disney himself. These real-life, human remains were taken from the UCLA Medical Center and Anatomy Department because Imagineers were not happy with where fake bone technology was at in the late 60s. As the technology improved, new fake skeletons were placed where real human ones were. Imagineers insisted each of the bones were returned to their homes for proper burials, but we're wondering how they'd even pull something like that off. As rumor has it, there is still one human skull left on the ride, right above the captain's head on his headboard. 2. Disneyland sex crimes. Back in 2014, people became aware that the Florida Disney park had harbored quite a few workers that later turned out to be child sex offenders. A news article came out that established 35 Disneyland employees had been arrested for sex crimes involving children since 2006. It went further to identify that 32 of the 35 arrested had also been convicted of crimes like intending to meet a 13-year-old boy, sending nude photos to a 13-year-old boy, and soliciting sex with a 14-year-old girl. These vile crimes are bad enough by themselves, but the fact that they were carried out by people who worked, sometimes masked, with children. This year, 2 years later, 2 Florida SeaWorld employees were arrested in an 18-man sex sting, telling us that this could be a Florida man thing, or it could be an issue with theme park background checks, which should all look into illicit sexual history with children. 3. Suicide on the It's of Small World ride. It was 1999 when the classic ride at Say Small World was inexplicably and very hastily evacuated for an unspecified amount of time. As attendants wearing red overalls were ushering people out of the ride, a mom snapped a couple of photos so that she could finish off her role. Remember, in 1999 we used box cameras still. There were ambulances outside of the ride, and a police car blocking the main walkway, which was an obvious confusion for guests at the Magic Kingdom. The last photo of the reel that was taken before leaving the ride was of the ceiling, probably just to finish off the roll quickly. What was seen after the film was developed was shocking. It seems very clearly that a red overall wearing attendant is hung lifeless from the rafters in this NSFW photo. There has never been any proof or contesting to this urban legend, but the eerie picture kind of speaks for itself. 4. The death of Debbie Stone. Debbie Stone was born in Santa Ana, California in 1956 and grew up participating in athletics and making excellent grades. In the 70s, she got a job with Disneyland Parks to raise money for her education at Iowa State University, and was worked as an hostess on America Sings, which features automated stages that shift and move to display various musical acts. Around 10:30 p.m. on June 28, 1974, a scream was heard as the final stage shift of the night was taking place. A guest and fellow operators went to figure out the origination of the shriek, and found the body of Debbie Stone fatally crushed between the stationary and rotating stage. Disneyland closed the ride for 2 days, and kept the stage, where Stone was killed, clear for a year. The ride remained operating until 1988, and sensory lights were installed to inform an attendant or hostess if they're too close to the stages as they move. Many attendants that worked the ride in its last years spoke of haunted stages and phantom voices warning them to be careful. 5. Disney theme parks underground tunnels. When Walt Disney created Disney World in Florida in 1971, he built a very complex tunnel system underneath the park so that characters could take their breaks without traumatizing young children. Disney had the idea when he watched a cowboy walk through Tomorrowland to get to his post in Frontierland. The creator of the park realized that this really took away from the park's mission and thought up the Disney utilitarian system of tunnels beneath the park. The tunnels cover up to 9 acres with makeup rooms, dressing rooms and a cafeteria among other rooms. They also serve as a great way to take out the trash without freaking out guests. The eerie reality is that every time we're enjoying a Disney park, there are characters without heads riding golf carts around right beneath our feet. There aren't any urban legends about what goes on down there, but we're sure we'd be surprised by some of the not-so-Disney activities. 6. Suicides at Disney Paris. Just 20 miles east of the capital of France sits Disneyland Paris, which boasted 14.5 million in attendance in 2010, and almost an hour of wait times for rides. These bright numbers reflected a great year for the Disney Corporation, but it wasn't such a great year for the workers of Disney Paris. 2 of the Disney Paris employees committed suicide in 2010, which are not very good numbers for an employer. The first was Frank, who was a chef at Disneyland for a whole decade, but had been on sabbatical due to illness. The night before he was supposed to return to work, the chef scratched his suicide note on the wall in his native tongue, which translated loosely to "I don't want to work for Mickey anymore." Although all of the research led to Disney not being involved, Frank's father-in-law stated that the chef was very depressed about staff cuts and the switch from fresh to frozen foods. That same year, another company chef committed suicide because of what was called humiliating treatment on site at work. Many describe the basis for these deaths a cultural suicide at the Euro Disney restaurants in a country where good food is close to God. 7. Walt Disney's mommy issues. Ever notice that many of Walt Disney's films feature a theme of motherless children? Snow White, Bambi, Pinocchio, and even modern Disney cartoon films like The Little Mermaid and Frozen feature characters that have tragically diseased or just completely absent mothers. Many conspiracy theorists believe that Disney features these characters because his own mother, who was killed in a tragic accident. Flora Disney choked to death on carbon monoxide in a horrible accident with the furnace in the house that Walt purchased for her. He was absolutely crushed by his mother's death, often described as being inconsolable. Walt frequently visited his mother's grave and mourned her well after her death, but these films were planned, and their original stories written long before the 1938 death of Flora Disney. This is actually a common theme in a lot of stories about teens and children, because it works as a catalyst in crafting a coming-of-age type of story. 8. Nazi painted into a mural at Disney World in Florida. In 1992, Walt Disney's Grand Floridian Hotel commissioned a Great Gatsby-style painting for their lobby featuring characters in commonly Florida-themed garb. The Disney Corporation approved of the painting, and it's still hanging in the lobby today. Much controversy surrounds this painting, because in the upper quadrants of the wraparound porch we can see a soldier. This soldier looks very much like a Nazi, which would play very well into a tongue-in-cheek approach to what wealth looked like in the Gatsby period. A book came out in 1992 entitled Sabotage in the American Workplace. In this book, an artist referred to only as Harvey says that he drew this very painting. He added the stormtrooper as a little one-off to his company that was forcing him to work for the Disney Corporation. The artist told his boss that the man was a security guard, and it went to the hotel, where it was hung without a care.